What is up, people? This is Abraham Walker with 𝗗𝗶𝗿𝗲𝗰𝘁, your Northern Virginia real estate agent. In this video, we're covering the difference between pet rent, pet deposit, and whether or not you as a landlord should request both when you're looking at a potential tenant with a pet. Okay, so let's talk about pet rent first. Pet rent is an increase in the rent based on the number of animals or pets that are going to be living in the property. This does not apply to service animals, right? So this is just, I guess, leisure animals, I guess if you want to call them that. And if an individual has one animal, you would charge pet rent based on the number of animals in that under their possession, right? So if you have a dog, maybe charge them $50 or $50 extra a month. A cat, $50. It could be a range of prices, right? Our preference when we're representing our landlord clients is really not to set a predefined pet rent amount and really base it off of the type of animal that's going to be staying in the property, also the size of the animal, because different size animals cause different size damage, and you have to assess that risk based on that particular animal, right? And so again, pet rent is an increase in the rent based on the pet itself, and that fee is paid on a monthly basis included with the monthly rent. Now, let's talk about pet deposit. So pet deposit is similar to just a regular security deposit, except it's tied to the pet. So it's an additional security deposit. Now, so take for instance this property right here. This property right here is on the market at $2,700, $2,650, and the security deposit is $2,650 of the first month rent. Well, the pet deposit on this particular property is $500 pet deposit. Plus, we also charge pet rent based on the animal that's going to be renting the property out, or at least on the lease, right? And so you're tying that pet deposit to any potential damage that could occur on the property. Now, pet deposits, in my opinion, don't represent enough of the potential damage that could be caused by an animal. But when you pair the pet deposit with the security deposit, you should have a sizable amount of money to make a moderate amount of repairs. It's not going to cover a total loss, and it is going to cover some risk associated with having that pet in the property, right? And so pet rent increase on the monthly expenses. Pet deposit, that is a lump sum that's actually collected at the time the lease is signed, right? Just along with the security deposit. So on our end, what we recommend to our tenant clients, our landlord clients, is that they actually charge both, right? So they collect the pet deposit and they charge the pet rent, right? And this is why. Pets are going to cause additional damage. They can't not cost you more money. It's more risk, right? There's more feet in the property. Pets, we have no idea whether or not this pet is properly maintained by the tenant that's moving into the property. So we recommend charging both. Another reason why we recommend charging both is that with the pet rent, you automatically keep that money, right? It's just like traditional rent, right? Whereas with the deposit, if you're going to keep the deposit for any damages, then you have to have a list of the reasons, an itemized list of the damages that was caused for you to keep that deposit. And like I said, pets are going to cause damage. So it doesn't make sense not to incur some additional revenue to offset any damage that those pets cause, right? So when checking out pets though, right? So now we've talked about pet rent, pet deposit. Let's talk about the process of evaluating a pet applicant, right? So on the real estate agent side, we usually ask for the breed of the animal and the size of the animal, right? So those two things. So the breed and the size of the animal. If you want to plus that process, I would also recommend getting pet references, right? And so this is going to be where the previous landlord, if the tenant was previously a tenant in another unit, the previous landlord writes a letter of recommendation about their experience with a pet. Usually the landlord is just going to say how the property was left, the condition of the property that the tenant left it in, with a pet in mind, right? Now, this has come up a couple times on our end where we have potential tenants that are moving into the property with a pet, but they actually just finished selling the property, right? So they sold the property and then move it into a rental. They don't have any pet references, right? So this is an optional way to verify whether or not the pet is a pet that you want to risk moving into your property, and that's just a part of the process. I will add though, we are starting to see there's a trend where most applicants have pets. And so you're going to be constricting the market if you do not allow pets. This is just something you want to consider, right? Are you okay with a longer vacancy, right? A longer vacancy rate because you have limited your market? And you have to think about the fact that if you limit your market and you minimize the number of people that can see the property, which increases your vacancy rate. So now you're incurring more mortgage payments on your property. You're not receiving any money when the property is vacant. Is the amount of money that you lose worth the amount of money you could have made if you allowed a pet into your property? You already think about the damage that's going to be caused, and you just set aside that money, right? If you lose $2,700 a month or $2,500 a month or whatever that monthly fee is, you want to put that into your calculation about whether or not you should let pets into your property or not. So if you're a landlord in the area, in the Northern Virginia area, you have questions about allowing pets, questions about renting your property out, you can post those questions down below, or you can shoot me an email to abraham@askawalker.com. You can also call me on my cell, 703-539-2053, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.